Okay, so what I'm going to do is talk about safety matters because there are lots of reasons why we need to work safely, not least because we have big, heavy things on wheels that move around, usually independently of other things. So we need to be very conscious about how we operate our buses safely. Clearly, we don't want to hurt any of our volunteers or the public. That's not what we set out to do. Of course, it isn't, but we do need to take positive actions to make sure that everyone is safe in and around our buses. Part of that in an increasingly litigious society is to avoid insurance claims and disputes and all the rest of it. You never know what might happen, and it's often the unexpected that does happen that gives rise to problems. But we need to demonstrate as an efficient organisation, and indeed as a charity and a company limited by guarantee, that we're taking safety very seriously and we're taking positive actions to make sure that everyone is safe. And on top of that, we want to present competent and efficient services. Bus services are complicated things to operate, and we want to give the impression, as I think we do most of the time, that King Alfred fleet is operated coherently and sensibly. So we have a number of vehicles in our fleet which involve getting in and out of bus cabs. And you see people sort of getting in and out all the time, as indeed they did for many, many years. Well, half cabs were the standard sort of vehicle. We have a number of half cabs. We have the Leyland Lion, dating back all the way to 1929, when people were physically fit and could drive big, heavy buses without any difficulty. We also have the two Leyland Titans as 494, which has been operating in our fleet for many years, and more recently, Titan 811. We also have the two AEC Renowns, 595 and 596, masquerading as 2212. And what is important to remember is that one size doesn't necessarily fit all. Our drivers are very much different shapes and sizes, and that's just one of those things. But everyone needs to be capable of getting in and out and doing so safely in the same way. So basically, you need to climb in using the available steps and handles, which for some people, depending on how big or small or wide you are, aren't necessarily in the most convenient place, but that's where they are, and they're there to be used. If you're unsure as to where the handles are, well, have a good look before you reach for something. Make sure the handles are properly secured. There's nothing in your way. There's nothing to slip on. You've got the right sort of footwear so you can put your feet where they should go and climb into the cab accordingly. You do need to be physically fit and able to do this. It's not necessarily about strength, it's about technique as much as anything. And in doing so, you need to make sure you don't bang your head either, because cab doors tend to be quite small and not terribly easy. And you also find with things like the Renowns that the handbrake is on the right rather than the left, so you have to clamber over it. So it's not the easiest of things to do. But once you're in, you should have a reasonable amount of room, but actually getting to that point can be quite difficult. And you do need to be comfortable in the cab, or as comfortable as you can be, so that the controls are within reach, so you're not stretching unnecessarily. And importantly, that you have as good visibility as you're going to get. So that's not just looking out the front and the side, but looking in the mirrors as well. And these days, things like bus cabs are supposed to be designed ergonomically, that is, with the human element in mind, but old buses seem to defy that. So watch out for things sticking out where they wouldn't necessarily be in a modern bus, and hopefully everything is within reasonable reach. Getting out of the bus, needless to say, is the opposite of getting in. The difficulty is you can't necessarily see very easily where you're putting your feet. But again, please use the grab handles and the footholds so that you can do it slowly if you need to, but definitely safely. There's no rush. We don't want you jumping out of cabs or anything like that. Just do it sensibly. So facing the vehicle as you would to get in, and you clamber down using the steps and handles. Importantly, please look before you open the cab door. The Renowns have sliding doors, but even so, you need to look at what it is you're climbing into, which is basically oncoming traffic. If you're in somewhere like the Broadway, it can be quite difficult. If you're opening a door outwards, then it makes sense to look and make sure nothing's coming, make sure you've got enough room to reach the tarmac safely. And if it's wet, either because it's raining or it has been raining and the footholds might be slippery, please take extra care, because you just need to make sure that you're undertaking this maneuver safely. Moving then to open platform buses, of which we have two prime examples, our two Leylands 494 and 811. Open platforms we have come to know and work with, but a lot of people, a lot of our visiting public really don't have much concept about what an open platform bus is, because they've never really traveled on one. Things to remember about them, apart from the fact they're open, is that when it's rainy, they get slippery. And most bus platforms tend to slope downwards as well. So there's all sorts of hidden hazards in there. What is really important is that the conductor needs to supervise the platform as well as issuing the tickets. If you're upstairs issuing tickets, then you need to keep an eye on the platform via the mirror at the top of the stairs. So supervising that platform is really, really important as much of the time as you can. And because people are unfamiliar with open platforms, they think it's a bit of a lark, really. You can climb on, you can climb off whenever you like. But it doesn't really work like that in our sort of operation. So don't assume they know what to do safely, because they probably don't. When stopped, boarding has to be supervised, but the vehicle has to be at a stand. It can't be moving at all. Gone are the days when you could jump on and off when it was just moving off, or before you got to the bus stop. So physically prevent people doing it, either boarding or getting off if the bus is moving. So particularly if it's wet or icy or anything like that. But don't assume that anyone really understands what it's about. And if you have to physically stand in the way of them trying to get on or off, then please do so, because it's far safer all round. The conductor needs to ring the bell to give the driver the starting signal. That's 2 rings of the bell, and that's essential before the bus moves off. What the conductors need to remember is the driver actually can't see a great deal at all. In looking in the near side mirror, all you get is a view of the side of the bus. You've got really no idea what's going on the platform itself. So it is important that the starting signal is given when at the appropriate moment, and that the driver is confident that it is safe to move off. As I mentioned, the bus has to come to a complete stand before anyone is permitted to get off it. The reasons of that are pretty clear. Bus platforms can be quite high, simply because of the camber of the road, or the way they were built, or how the suspension works, or anything like that.
Well, it's a good 18 inches, 18 to 20 inches, but that's normal. If you go and look at most, if you go and look at that one, so it's roughly the same height. That's how they were.
And people aren't used to high steps getting on and off buses these days, because we have the marvelous universal easy access to buses. So a high platform can be a bit of a challenge, especially if anyone isn't quite as mobile as they thought they were. So please direct passengers to use the handrails. That's what they're for. There is always something to grab hold of, and it's very much in their interest that they use them. And with slippery platforms, if it is wet, then they really don't know what they're stepping onto. So extra vigilance is needed. So if you have any suggestions or questions on these or any other safety issues, then please mention them. Safety only works if people share their experiences, share their good ideas. And I hope we've covered everything in this video. If we haven't, please let us know. And we hope that this is a good medium for presenting these sorts of issues that make them easily digestible. And we look forward to making some more. But if you have got any suggestions, please contact James Freeman, our chairman, or myself, Nick Richardson, one of the trustees, and we'd be happy to take your views on board. Thank you very much.